Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures, where humanity always rises. In the far edge of the galaxy, inside a massive floating library known as the Grand Archive, a quiet and ancient place where millions of races kept their history safe, one strange legend stayed locked behind a steel door. This legend was kept in the Hall of Impossible Tales, a hall filled with old stories that the galaxy did not believe anymore. Some stories were about monsters, some were about lost gods, and some were about creatures that could move stars. But the most famous and the most laughed at story was the one called humans. Every alien child grew up hearing bedtime tales about humans, creatures who were said to be small but dangerous, soft but fearless, weak but impossible to defeat. Many thought the stories were written only to scare children into good behavior. The Council of Historians called humans a fake race, nothing more than a myth created by early explorers who loved to exaggerate. But one historian, a quiet and serious scholar named Dr. Varon, never laughed at the human legend. For years he studied every clue, every lost text, every hidden symbol connected to humans. Most of his friends told him to stop wasting his life on fairy tales, but Varon felt something in his heart. A strange feeling that the galaxy was missing a big truth. One silent night, while working alone in the forbidden section, Varon found a metal box buried deep inside a dusty archive. The box was old, older than the entire council, older than many civilizations that existed now. When he cleaned the surface, he saw a simple symbol burned into the metal, a human handprint. His hand shook as he opened the box. Inside, he discovered a small crystal device, glowing faintly. When he touched it, the crystal projected a three-dimensional star map into the air. Varon froze. The map was not any known chart. It showed a path leading to a dead star system on the far edge of the galaxy. But there was something else, written beneath the map in a language the galaxy had not seen in thousands of years. A simple message: "We are returning." Varon felt chills run down his arms. He rushed to the council chambers, holding the crystal like it was a bomb. The council members gathered, many annoyed that he had interrupted their quiet evening. He placed the crystal on the table and activated the map. Blue light filled the room. The elders leaned forward, whispering. Some laughed at first. "Ah, more human nonsense," one counselor said. But the room went silent when the message appeared again in bright light. "We are returning." The council head, a tall elder with golden skin, frowned. "Where did you find this?" Varon explained everything: how the box was hidden, how the symbol matched ancient human reports, how the star map pointed to an unknown system. Most counselors dismissed it. They said myths always used mysterious symbols and dramatic words. They told Varon he was letting stories control his mind. But as they argued, something impossible happened. The star map suddenly changed. The path on the map started glowing brighter, as if reacting to something outside the room. Then, without warning, the crystal released a pulse of energy. Every display screen in the council chamber flickered. Every scanner lit up with the same reading. A new signal was coming from the direction of the dead star system. A real signal. A strong one. And it matched the frequency recorded in ancient human files. For the first time in thousands of years, the myth had become a measurement. The myth had become a reading. The myth had become real. Panic spread among the council. Some shouted orders. Others tried to shut the screens off. Some stared at Varon in fear, blaming him for revealing something the galaxy was never meant to see. But Varon did not speak. He just stared at the glowing map, feeling both fear and excitement burning inside him. Suddenly, the council scanners displayed a final message transmitted from the dead system. Observation complete. No one understood what it meant, but everyone felt the same cold truth inside their hearts. Someone or something was awake, and it was watching them. The room remained silent for a long time. Finally, the council head whispered in a shaking voice, "If humans were only a story, who is sending this signal?" No one answered. No one breathed. No one laughed now. The map slowly dimmed, and the crystal shut down. But the fear inside every council member did not, because they all understood one thing: something was coming. Something powerful. Something ancient. And whatever it was coming fast. The Galactic Council moved quickly after the signal appeared, and within hours they sent a scout ship, named Starfinder, to investigate the dead star system shown on the ancient human map. The ship was led by Captain Rylan, a calm but strict officer known for never showing fear, even during dangerous missions. But as the Starfinder approached the edge of the dead system, even Rylan felt a cold weight forming in her chest. The entire area looked wrong. The star in the center was burned out, dark like a huge frozen stone. Several planets drifted without life, some broken into pieces, others cracked like eggs that had been smashed by something powerful. The silence in the system was unnatural, so heavy that even the ship's crew whispered instead of speaking normally. The scanner struggled to read anything. There were strange energy patterns everywhere, as if something had passed through the system and erased everything behind it. One young officer said quietly, "It feels like this place died twice." Rylan did not answer, but she agreed. The ship moved closer to the third moon of a shattered planet. This moon showed a weak energy reading, something that looked artificial. When they landed, the surface was covered in dust and ash, like a world untouched for thousands of years. But there were buildings, real structures, still standing. Tall towers made of black stone, shaped with sharp edges and smooth surfaces. The architecture was nothing like Galactic Council design. It looked older, stronger, made with a purpose no one could guess. Rylan led her team inside the largest structure. The hall inside was silent, long, and cold. Their footsteps echoed loudly, as if the building was listening. Strange symbols were carved on the walls, symbols that none of the crew recognized. But deeper inside the ruins, the team found something that froze their blood. A huge circular chamber, with glowing symbols on the floor. And on the far wall, written clearly, in an ancient language no alien species used anymore, English. Rylan stepped forward slowly. The writing was simple, sharp, almost aggressive. She read it aloud. "We survived." Her voice echoed through the chamber, and for a moment no one spoke. The words felt alive, as if they carried anger, pride, and warning all at once. One officer whispered, "Humans, this is human writing." Another officer stepped back, shaking his head. Humans were a myth. But the writing did not look like a myth. It looked like a message left by a people who were not afraid to be found. Rylan ordered the team to take recordings and samples. But as they worked, the room temperature suddenly dropped. Their breath turned white. The lights on their suits flickered. Something woke up. Every scanner on the team beeped at once. Strange energy started rising from the floor, like invisible smoke. The symbols on the ground began to glow, bright red. A deep sound filled the chamber, low and vibrating, like a heartbeat coming from a stone itself. The crew panicked. "Captain, something is activating." Rylan shouted for everyone to fall back, but before they could escape, a projection burst from the center of the chamber. A tall, shadowy figure appeared, humanoid in shape, but made of light and static. No face, no details, just the outline of a human. The figure slowly lifted its head and pointed at the crew. A voice followed, not from the figure, but from the walls themselves. The voice was deep, calm, and human. "If you have come this far, you are too late." The chamber shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. The floor vibrated. The energy levels spiked so fast the scanners broke. Rylan grabbed the nearest officer and pushed them toward the exit. "Move. Back to the ship. Now." The projection flickered but did not disappear. Instead it repeated one sentence. "We survived." The team ran through the halls, chased by the shaking of the ruins. When they reached the exit and stepped onto the dusty moon surface, the entire structure behind them began to collapse, as if it had finished its purpose. The Starfinder crew rushed inside their ship and lifted off immediately. As they escaped the moon's gravity, the structure gave one final flash of red light before sinking into the ground. The pilot shouted, "Captain, a new signal just activated. It matches the one sent to the Council." Rylan stared at the screen. The signal was strong, controlled, and pointed directly at galactic space. Someone wanted the galaxy to know. Someone wanted to be found. And that someone was human. Dr. Veron had not slept since the scout ship Starfinder returned. The moment the council received the report, chaos spread through every level of the government. Arguments, fear, disbelief, and anger filled the council chambers. But Dr. Varon only cared about one thing: the data the Starfinder brought back from the dead system. He sat alone in his small research room, surrounded by dozens of holographic screens, each showing symbols, recordings, and energy readings collected from the mysterious moon. His hands shook as he replayed the video of Captain Rylan reading the English words on the wall. "We survived." Hearing those words again made Varon's heart beat faster. If the writing was real, and he believed it was, then humans had existed, and they had survived something powerful enough to destroy entire planets. The council scientists refused to help him, saying the information was too dangerous, so Varon worked alone. He ran scans on the ruins, the symbols, and the strange energy pulses. Then he opened the most disturbing file, the audio recording of the voice inside the chamber. He played it again. The deep, calm human voice spoke clearly. "If you have come this far, you are too late." Varon closed his eyes. The voice did not sound angry. It did not sound afraid. It sounded like someone who already knew how the future would unfold. Suddenly his screens flickered. A warning popped up. "New signal detected." Varon leaned forward. The frequency was the same as the one that had activated the star map. The same as the one from the ancient crystal. The same as the moon ruins. Something, or someone, was sending another message. He opened the transmission, expecting noise, but instead a hologram appeared. A glowing symbol shaped like a human handprint turned slowly in the air. Underneath it, a line of text appeared in English. "We observe. We remember. We return." Varon's heart nearly stopped. The message was simple but terrifying. If humans were observing, from where? If they remembered, what did they remember? And if they were returning, when? He ran the message through translation programs, energy scanners, and pattern replicas. Every test confirmed the same thing. The signal was not random. It was intelligent, controlled, and deliberate. Someone on the other end wanted the galaxy to receive it. Someone wanted the galaxy to know humans were real and alive. Varon rushed to the council chamber once again, but this time nobody laughed when he showed the signal. The council head's face turned pale as she stared at the glowing handprint. "This cannot be," she whispered. Humans were stories, nothing more. But the signal proving otherwise pulsed in front of her. Several council members shouted for military action. Others demanded evacuation plans. Some wanted to destroy the ruins to avoid more messages. But before any decision could be made, Captain Ryland stepped forward, her armor still covered in dust from the dead moon. "Council members," she said quietly, "I heard the human voice myself. It was not a recording from the past. The energy levels were active. This was triggered recently." The room fell silent. If humans were speaking now, they were not just ghosts or legends. They were alive somewhere, watching. Varon asked for permission to decrypt the deeper layers of the signal, and after a long argument, the council agreed. They needed answers. Varon worked nonstop for hours, breaking down each part of the message. At last, he found a hidden layer inside the signal, an encoded data file. When he opened it, a calm human voice began to speak. Not loud, just a whisper. "We are not what you remember. We are not what you fear. But you will fear what is coming." The lights in Varon's room flickered. The voice continued. "Prepare yourselves. This galaxy is not ready." Then the message ended. Varon stared at the screen, frozen. The humans were not threatening war. They were warning the galaxy. Warning them about something else. Something bigger. Something dangerous enough that even humans thought the galaxy was unprepared. He rushed to the council with the decoded file, and once again the chamber filled with fear and confusion. "If humans are warning us," one elder said, trembling, "then what could possibly scare them?" Another elder whispered, "Did they leave the galaxy for this reason? Did they run from something?" No one had answers, but everyone knew the same truth. The myth of humans had become real, and now the galaxy had to face the consequences. As Varon left the chamber, he looked up at the stars through the council tower windows. Somewhere out there, humans were moving, watching, and preparing. And as fear crawled through his chest, Varan whispered to himself, "Why return now? What is coming?" But the stars gave no answer, only silence. And in that silence, the galaxy felt smaller than ever. The Galactic Council chamber, usually a place of calm debate and organized discussion, felt like a storm ready to explode. Every leader from every major species had gathered, and fear could be seen in their eyes, in their shaking hands, and even in the way they breathed. The discovery of human ruins, the strange energy inside the moon chamber, the activated signal, and the decoded warning message had shaken the galaxy more than any war in the last 1,000 years. The council head stood at the center platform, trying to call the room to order, but nobody listened. One leader shouted that humans were returning to destroy them. Another shouted that humans had never died and were secretly hiding, waiting for revenge. A third leader claimed that humans were working with some unknown monster that was coming to wipe out the galaxy. The fear grew louder and louder until the council head slammed her staff onto the ground, the sharp sound echoing across the chamber and forcing everyone to fall silent. "We must think clearly," she said, but even she did not look calm. Dr. Varan stood beside her, holding a small data tablet with the human message stored inside. His voice was steady but soft when he spoke. "The humans are not threatening us. They are warning us. There is something else coming." The room erupted again with fearful whispers. Captain Ryland stepped forward, armor shining under the bright council lights. She spoke with the tone of someone who had faced death before. "I stood inside their ruins. I heard the human voice directly. Humans are not ghosts. They are not extinct. They are alive, stronger than ever, and they know something dangerous is approaching." One of the council elders trembled as he said, "But humans were only stories. Tales to entertain children. How can a story suddenly become real?" Varan turned toward him. "Because the story was never false. We simply chose not to believe it." The council screens lit up, showing old myths, drawings, carvings, and ancient warnings from civilizations long gone. Every record said the same thing. Humans were feared, respected, and powerful. They were small but fierce, soft-skinned but unstoppable, emotional but determined. And when they vanished from the galaxy thousands of years ago, nobody knew why. A tall reptilian general rose from his seat. "If humans survived whatever destroyed that system, then we must prepare our armies. We must be ready." But another leader argued back. "Prepare for what? Humans, or the thing they are warning us about?" A silent weight fell over the room. Nobody wanted to ask the hardest question. What kind of enemy could frighten a species known for fighting until their last breath? Varan studied the signal waveform again on his tablet. He stepped forward. "There's more," he said. The council turned to him, their fear growing heavier. The human signal pattern, it was sent in intervals. It was not random. It was triggered by something. Captain Ryland frowned. "Triggered by what?" Varan's voice dropped. "Triggered by movement in deep space. Something massive. Something outside our normal detection grid." The screens behind him displayed a long, dark shape moving slowly through deep space, too far to identify. Not a ship, not an asteroid. Something else. Something alive. The chamber became completely silent. The council had whispered. So the humans were not watching us. They were watching it. Every leader stared at the moving shape with dread. The general spoke again, voice tight. "Are we sure humans are not the threat?" Varan shook his head. If humans wanted war, they would not send warnings. They would simply come. His words sent a cold shiver across the room. Everyone had heard human war legends, how humans fought until their bones broke, how they adapted faster than any species, how they learned enemy tactics in minutes, not years. If humans were truly back, they did not need to warn the galaxy before attacking. They would have struck without hesitation. The council head faced the screen again. "We must decide," she said. "Do we treat humans as allies or enemies?" The question divided the room. Some leaders wanted to send a message of peace to humans, begging for help. Others wanted to prepare for war, fearing humans were manipulating them. The arguing grew louder, until Varan raised his voice for the first time. "You do not understand," he said firmly. Humans do not need our trust or our fear. They already know everything about us. They have been watching the galaxy for centuries. The room fell quiet. Varan continued. They did not return because they wanted to conquer us. They returned because whatever destroyed that star system is now moving toward us. Captain Ryland stepped beside him. If the humans survived it, maybe they know how to stop it. The council head closed her eyes for a moment, then opened them again with a decision made. Send a message, she ordered. Not to the unknown threat, to the humans. Gasps filled the chamber. She continued, if they are truly returning, the galaxy needs them. No one argued. No one protested. For the first time in history, every species agreed on something. They needed humans, even if the idea terrified them, even if the myth was now real. And as the message broadcasted into the stars, a cold thought settled in the mind of every leader. If humans did not answer, they were already doomed. The message to the humans was sent, but no one in the galaxy knew what kind of answer to expect. Some hoped for peace, others feared an attack, and many prayed the humans would never respond at all. Days passed in silence, and the council grew more nervous with every hour. Then, without warning, every long-range scanner across the galaxy detected something strange, an object entering their outer borders at impossible speed. It was not traveling through normal space. It moved in sudden jumps, appearing and disappearing like a shadow skipping across the stars. Alarms rang across dozens of stations, ships, and colonies. The council gathered in panic, the screens showing only a blurry black shape that refused to be scanned. Every attempt to identify the object failed. When they tried reading its energy signature, the scanners overloaded and shut down. When they tried sending drones toward it, the drones melted into dust before reaching it. Captain Ryland stood in the war room with a tight jaw, watching the object move closer and closer. She could feel the fear spreading through her bones like cold fire. No known species has technology like this. One scientist whispered. Another replied, except for one. Humans. The room fell dead silent. Then the object stopped. It did not slow down. It simply appeared, frozen in space, right outside the orbit of the neutral world Arisen Prime, a peaceful planet used for meetings, trade, and diplomacy. Billions watched from across the galaxy as the unknown object finally revealed itself. It was a ship, but not like any ship the galaxy had ever seen. Black, smooth, silent, shaped like a spear with no engines, no windows, no markings. It looked more like a living shadow than a machine. As it hovered above Arisen Prime, the skies of the planet darkened, not because the ship blocked the sun, but because its presence seemed to swallow light itself. A wave of panic swept through the cities below. People ran, screamed, and hid as the giant ship lowered slowly toward the surface. Defense systems activated automatically, targeting the ship with beams, missiles, and high-energy cannons. But every attack vanished before reaching it, absorbed by some invisible field. Not a single blast touched the ship. Inside the council war room, the council head whispered, "We are helpless." Then something even more terrifying happened. The ship sent out a communication signal. No sound, no language, just a single code that every species recognized instantly. Ancient human transmission format. Dr. Varan felt the blood drain from his face. "It's them," he said quietly. The signal expanded everywhere, reaching every communication network at once. Then a message appeared on every screen in the galaxy, written in clean, sharp English letters. "We are not your myth." The message repeated 3 times before the screen shut off. People across the galaxy screamed, cried, or froze in fear. Some fell to their knees. Some shouted for war. Others begged for mercy. On Arisen Prime, citizens stood trembling as the ship finally touched down on the capital's landing field with no sound, no vibration, nothing. A silent, impossible landing. No doors opened. No soldiers emerged. No humans stepped out. The ship simply waited. Captain Ryland, watching from orbit, tried scanning again, and for the first time the ship allowed a brief reading. Her eyes widened. Power levels beyond anything we know. The ship seemed to pulse once, and a ripple of energy spread across the entire planet. Lights flickered. Machines shut down. Gravity shifted for a moment, and inside the great council station, Dr. Varon felt something, an emotion he could not explain. Not anger, not hatred. It felt like a warning, as if the ship was saying, "We are here. Watch your actions." Then the ship sent one more message, and this time it came with a voice. A calm, clear male human voice echoed across the galaxy, as if the speaker stood right beside every living being. "We observe." The voice paused. "We remember." Another pause, longer, colder. "We return." The final words hit the galaxy like a storm. "Do not interfere." And then the ship went silent again. No movement, no sound, nothing, just waiting. Billions of beings across the galaxy stared at their screens, terrified, confused, helpless. The myth of humans was no longer a myth. It was real. It was powerful. And it had arrived without asking permission. Captain Ryland whispered the words that everyone was thinking. If this is only one human ship, what else is coming? For 2 full days, the mysterious human ship sat silently on the landing field of Arisen Prime, unmoving and unreadable, like a dark spear planted in the heart of the galaxy. Every species watched the planet with fear and tension, unsure if the ship carried a single human or an entire army. Soldiers from many worlds surrounded the landing field with heavy weapons, but none dared to move closer than the invisible barrier that surrounded the ship. Every attempt to measure the barrier failed. Drones melted, scanners burned out, and even psychic readers collapsed when they tried sensing inside. The ship felt alive, like a sleeping giant waiting for the right moment to open its eyes. Captain Ryland arrived with a special diplomatic team, her ship landing in the upper atmosphere as she stared down at the shadow-like vessel. She had faced death on the destroyed moon, but the fear she felt now was different, deeper, older. Like her instincts warned her, she was standing before a force greater than anything she understood. Dr. Varon stood beside her, holding a recorder as if his trembling hands could somehow protect him. They walked toward the landing field together, surrounded by thousands of alien citizens who had come despite the fear. Some watched in awe, others shook with terror, and many whispered prayers to their gods. Everyone wanted to see humans, real humans, after so many ages of calling them myths. The air around the ship felt heavy, colder, thicker, as if it bent reality itself. The moment Ryland stepped closer, her suit sensors flatlined. Varon's device went blank. Every screen and weapon within 50 meters died at once. "It's disabling technology," Ryland whispered. Varon nodded slowly. "It understands us. It knows exactly what we use, and it can turn it off." Before they could say more, the ship finally reacted. A single line of light, thin and white like a blade, ran across the surface of the vessel. The crowd gasped and stepped back as the line grew brighter. But instead of opening, the light floated upward, forming a column in the air. Then the light expanded, shaping into a figure. A human figure. Not real, but a hologram, perfectly clear, tall, and wearing old Earth combat armor. The armor was black and silver, scratched by battles long forgotten. The figure stood with hands behind its back, silent and still. Then, with slow and deliberate movement, the hologram raised its head and looked at the crowd. Billions watching from across the galaxy felt a strange shock run through them, as if the hologram's gaze reached through the screens and stared into their souls. The human figure spoke, and its voice was calm, controlled, and powerful enough to silence an entire planet. "You have called. We have answered." The words echoed across cities, stations, and ships. "For ages you believed we were only a story," the voice continued. "A myth. A warning. A ghost." The hologram took one step forward, though the real ship remained frozen. "You forgot us. But we never forgot you." Dr. Varon swallowed hard. The hologram turned slowly, as if studying each being present. "We left this galaxy not out of fear," it said, "but out of necessity. We grew. We evolved. And we watched from afar." The next words chilled the entire galaxy. "Your peace is ending." Captain Ryland stepped closer despite her shaking legs. "What is coming?" she shouted. "What are you warning us about? Please speak." The hologram paused. "Something old. Something vast. something that once challenged us and failed. The crowd trembled. Varon whispered, "Something strong enough to challenge humans." The hologram continued, "It has awakened. It moves toward you, and you are not prepared." Then, suddenly, its tone shifted, becoming almost gentle. "Do not fear us. We are not your enemy." The citizens sighed in relief, but only for a moment. "Fear what follows us." Before anyone could respond, the hologram pointed toward the sky, and every camera, every eye, every sensor turned upward. For a brief second, a dark shape passed between the stars. Huge, silent, unnatural. Then it vanished. Screams echoed across the landing field. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Children cried. Even Ryland stepped back, her breath trembling. The hologram spoke one final time. "Prepare your worlds. Prepare your armies. Prepare your hearts." It began to fade. "We will return, not to conquer, but to save." The light dissolved. The hologram vanished completely, and the ship, the silent human ship, lifted slowly into the sky without fire, without engines, without sound, leaving the planet as gently as a falling feather. Then it vanished in a flash of white light. No trace left behind. No signature. No direction. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. For thousands of years humans were myths, stories, jokes. But now the truth stood in front of them. Humans were real. Humans were powerful. And humans were afraid of something coming their way. Only one question remained in every mind. If humans needed to return, what was strong enough to make them come back? Panic spread across the galaxy after the human ship disappeared. News channels repeated the hologram message every hour, replaying the moment when the human voice warned them about something old and something that once challenged us. Entire planets stayed awake through the night, afraid to close their eyes. Governments met in emergency sessions, arguing and shouting, unsure whether to prepare for war or hide underground. For the first time in centuries, rival species worked together because they all felt the same fear. Whatever scared humans must be powerful enough to destroy them all. Captain Ryland returned to her ship with a heavy heart, her mind filled with the image of the giant dark shape passing through the stars. No sensor could identify it, no telescope could track it, and no records in the galactic library matched its design. Her crew waited for answers, but she had none. Dr. Varon sat in the corner of the briefing room, staring at his shaking hands as if they belonged to someone else. "If humans came back, something terrible must be coming," he whispered. The crew fell silent because they all knew he was right. Meanwhile, far beyond known space, in the cold, empty darkness, where even starlight felt weak, something massive drifted forward. It did not need engines. It did not need fuel. It moved like a living shadow stretching across the void. Its surface was not metal, not stone, not flesh, but something in between, something shifting and pulsing like a heartbeat. For ages it had slept, buried under dead stars, waiting for the right moment to awaken. Now it stirred because it had sensed the humans. It remembered them. It remembered the war. The last war. The one the galaxy had forgotten. On Arisen Prime, scientists tried replaying the footage of the shadow shape, enhancing it, brightening it, slowing it down, but every attempt revealed something worse. The shadow did not reflect light. It consumed it. It swallowed the stars behind it. Dr. Varon felt sick as he watched the enhanced image. "This is not a ship," he said. "This is something alive." Ryland clenched her fists. "Then we must warn the galaxy." They tried. They sent millions of messages. But fear spread faster. Armies rushed to build defenses. Space stations doubled their patrols. Civilian ships were grounded. Everyone prepared for an attack they could not see. Then, one morning, without any warning, hundreds of deep space sensors across the galaxy flickered with the same signal, a slow, rhythmic pulse, like the sound of a giant heartbeat. The signal came from beyond the outer rim, repeating every 30 seconds. Every species heard it. Every leader froze. Every scientist panicked. The pulse grew stronger each hour, each beat louder than the last. Then a terrifying discovery came from the Farscanner research team. The pulse was not random. It was a location, a message, a countdown. and something was moving toward the galaxy's center at impossible speed. Captain Ryland listened to the report in disbelief. "How big is it?" she asked. The researcher swallowed hard. "Bigger than any fleet ever created. Bigger than any moon. It's growing." No one understood how something could grow in the vacuum of space. No one wanted to understand. While chaos spread, a new fear appeared. Humans were nowhere to be found. Their ship had vanished. No signal. No trace. No message. The galaxy needed them, but they were silent. Some believed they had abandoned the galaxy. Some believed they were preparing their own armies. Some believed they were already fighting the shadows somewhere far away. But the truth was unknown, and the fear grew stronger with every hour. On a quiet observation deck, Ryland stood alone, watching the stars. She remembered the hologram words, "Fear what follows us." She whispered to herself, "If humans are afraid, what chance do we have?" Suddenly the ship alerts screamed. Lights flashed red. The crew rushed to stations. Dr. Varon nearly dropped his equipment. "The pulse changed," a technician shouted. Everyone froze as the new reading appeared. The shadow had stopped moving. It had changed direction. It was coming straight toward the center of the galaxy, straight toward the allied worlds, straight toward them. And then the final message appeared on the screen, a translation decoded from the pulse itself. Only 2 words. Only 2 simple words, yet enough to bring dread to every living being. "We remember." The moment the shadow's message appeared, "We remember," fear exploded across the galaxy like wildfire. Every station, every ship, every planet went into emergency mode. Sirens screamed across city skylines. Defensive shields rose around capitals, and fleets scrambled into formation with trembling hands on the controls. But none of it felt enough. Captain Ryland stood at the center of the command deck, while the enormous hologram of the shadow hovered above the table, growing larger every hour as it approached. Dr. Varon rushed through data screens, but every reading only made his face grow paler. "This thing is not only alive," he said with a shaking voice. "It is learning. It is adapting. It is absorbing energy from space itself." His words spread through the room, chilling every officer. The shadow had no engines, no fuel, no limits. It fed on darkness and moved with purpose. As the galaxy prepared for war, the shadow kept sending the same heartbeat signal, echoing through the stars in slow, dreadful pulses. Each pulse shook ships, rattled satellites, and made the space around it ripple like disturbed water. Low-frequency vibrations traveled through hyperspace, knocking out long-range sensors and distorting communication. Scientists tried to block the pulse, but every filter failed, every firewall shattered. The shadow wanted the galaxy to hear it. It wanted them to remember something ancient, something they had forgotten. Meanwhile, planets closer to the rim began reporting strange events. Lights flickered for hours. Gravity shifted in random waves. Entire nights turned unnaturally cold. On one mining world, a group of workers stared at the sky as the stars vanished one by one, swallowed by a dark curtain far beyond their atmosphere. Ships sent to investigate were lost instantly. Their signals cut mid-transmission as if swallowed whole. Panic turned to terror. Leaders of the major species met in a frantic emergency council. Voices argued, shouted, and overlapped. Some demanded to summon the humans again. Others wanted to flee the galaxy. Others believed they should launch every weapon they had. But no plan felt safe, and no decision felt right. "We need the humans," one commander insisted. "They fought this thing before." But Dr. Varon shook his head. "We don't know where they went. We don't know if they're alive. We don't even know if they can defeat this thing again." Captain Ryland closed her eyes as she listened. She had seen the fear in the human transmission, the warning hidden under their calm words. If humans were afraid, this enemy must be worse than anything the galaxy could imagine. Then, just as the council fell into chaos, a new alert rang through the station. A massive surge of energy had erupted from the shadow. The hologram updated instantly, showing the creature expanding, its size doubling in seconds. At the same time, thousands of smaller dark shapes separated from it like pieces breaking off a massive creature. These fragments moved with terrifying speed, spreading out in different directions. "They're scouts," Rylan yelled. "It's searching for something." Each dark fragment slipped through space like liquid night, impossible to track, impossible to stop. When a defense fleet tried firing on one, the shots went straight through as if hitting smoke. But the ships that got too close did not survive. Their hulls turned black first, then crumbled into dust. Within minutes, 5 fleets were completely erased, leaving nothing behind. The galaxy watched in horror, realizing this enemy was not an army. It was a living nightmare. Ryland's crew monitored the fragments as they approached populated planets. But instead of attacking, they hovered above the atmospheres, scanning, pulsing, waiting. And then the worst discovery came. The fragments were not looking for planets. They were looking for humans. Every analysis confirmed the same pattern. The fragments moved toward locations connected to ancient human ruins, old human signals, or planets where human myths were strongest. "It wants them," Dr. Veron whispered. "It wants humans more than us." Ryland felt her breath freeze in her chest, because if the shadow wanted humans, it meant one terrifying truth: humans were still alive. Somewhere. Somehow. And the shadow was hunting them. Suddenly, another pulse hit the galaxy. The strongest one yet. Every ship shook violently. Lights flickered out, and gravity dropped for several seconds. When the systems rebooted, a new message appeared on every screen in the Council station, written in a deep, jagged script no one recognized. But the translation came fast, delivered with a single horrifying meaning: "We are coming." Captain Ryland stared at the message as a cold chill crawled down her spine. The shadow was no longer approaching slowly. It was accelerating. The galaxy had run out of time. After the shadow's pulse swept across the galaxy, fear and panic had become the new normal. Governments worked around the clock, fleets were deployed, and every citizen watched the skies with wide eyes. But no one could stop the darkness that approached. Captain Ryland stood on the bridge of the command ship, her hands gripping the railing as she stared at the stars where the shadow's fragments had spread like hunting predators. Beside her, Dr. Veron ran scan after scan, his face pale, sweat dripping down his forehead. "It's too powerful," he whispered. "Nothing we have can stop it." Suddenly, a new signal appeared on the long-range sensors. It was faint, but unmistakable, a human frequency. The signal pulsed with rhythm and energy unlike any known ship, and Dr. Veron's voice trembled as he spoke. "They're back. They're here." Across the galaxy, people had begun to doubt if humans existed, thinking of them as myths or stories. But now, evidence proved humans were alive, and they were sending their presence deliberately. The signal grew stronger and formed into a pattern. Holograms appeared across every ship and city, showing fleets of ships moving with perfect precision, faster than anything the galaxy had ever built. The humans were returning, not just a single vessel, but hundreds, thousands, an entire armada. Captain Ryland could hardly believe her eyes. "They are real," she whispered, "and they are stronger than we imagined." The human armada spread across space, forming lines and formations that radiated calm control and undeniable power. Then a single human ship moved ahead of the others and projected a hologram. The figure was tall, armored, calm, and commanding. Its voice echoed through every communication channel. "We left the galaxy to grow, to evolve, to prepare for what was coming," it said. "We did not leave out of fear. We left to become stronger than any threat, stronger than the shadows that now hunt us and you." Dr. Veron stared at the hologram in disbelief. Every human legend he had studied as a child now stood before him in reality. Humans were not weak. Humans were not extinct. Humans had grown into something the galaxy had never seen. The figure continued. "We return now because the threat is too great for the galaxy to face alone. The shadow that approaches has challenged us before. It almost destroyed us, and it will destroy you if we do not act." Panic spread even faster across the galaxy. Military leaders realized that all their fleets, all their weapons, all their defenses were useless against the approaching darkness. The humans, who had once been considered small and insignificant, were the only hope. Citizens whispered the words of ancient myths. Humans were clever, fast, and fearless. And now they were real. Ryland turned to her crew. voice firm but shaking. "We need to trust them. We have no choice." Dr. Veron continued analyzing the signal. The humans were sending not only fleets, but also knowledge, blueprints, energy patterns, and strategies encoded in their transmissions. Every system that had failed under the Shadow's pulse now started functioning again when synchronized with human technology. The humans were not here to conquer. They were here to save the galaxy. And yet, a cold realization hit Rylan and Veron at the same time. The humans were returning because something far worse than the Shadow was moving through space. The Shadow was only the beginning. The humans' calm, measured presence hid countless secrets, secrets about power, evolution, and battles fought far beyond the galaxy's knowledge. Another hologram appeared, showing the Shadow itself, the massive dark shape, and the countless fragments it had sent across the stars. The human figure spoke again. "We know its path. We know its strength. We know its mind. But it is relentless. Alone, you cannot stop it. Together with us, you may survive." Every species across the galaxy realized the terrifying truth. The humans had left the galaxy not because it was safe, but because survival required them to become something more than anyone imagined. They had grown beyond fear, beyond weakness, beyond the limits of ordinary life. And now they had returned not as myths, but as legends brought to life, armed with the knowledge, power, and strategy to face the darkness. Captain Rylan felt a mixture of relief and dread. Relief because humans were real and here to help. Dread because the enemy was still approaching, unstoppable and ancient. Dr. Veron whispered, almost to himself, "The humans fought once and won. They left so they could return stronger. And now the galaxy depends on them." From the stars, more ships appeared, moving faster than anything known. Humans filled the void with their presence, quiet but immense, precise but terrifying in scale. And then the human figure delivered the final message, clear and sharp. "The Shadow comes. The galaxy is weak. But with us, you may live. Trust us, follow us, and prepare yourselves. The true fight begins now." Every citizen, soldier, and leader felt it. The truth had been revealed. Humans were alive. Humans were powerful. Humans were the galaxy's only hope. And the war that had been waiting in the shadows for centuries was about to begin. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. As the human armada fully emerged from the void beyond known space, billions of eyes across planets, stations, and ships stared in awe and fear. Ships larger than cities moved with quiet purpose, their sleek surfaces absorbing starlight as if bending it around them. Energy shields glowed faintly, showing power beyond imagination, yet the humans themselves remained calm, almost peaceful in appearance. Captain Ryland stood on the bridge of her flagship, heart pounding, watching the human fleets assemble into formations that no alien mind could fully comprehend. Beside her, Dr. Veron monitored every transmission, every pulse, every signal. "They are real," he said, voice trembling, "and they are beyond everything we imagined." Citizens and soldiers across the galaxy whispered the ancient tales, remembering stories that had been dismissed as myths for centuries. Now those myths had returned, alive and breathing, commanding power that dwarfed entire civilizations. Then, at the center of the human fleet, a single ship rose higher than the rest, projecting a massive hologram that could be seen across light years. The human figure was tall, armored, and calm, radiating authority that made even the most hardened leaders feel small and insignificant. Its voice boomed in every communication channel, yet it carried no malice, only certainty. "We are not myths. We are not legends. We are humans, and we return because the galaxy faces a threat it cannot face alone." Across the galaxy, fleets paused. Leaders stopped their arguments. Citizens froze in the streets. Every being, from the smallest miner to the largest warlord, listened. "We left the galaxy to grow stronger," the figure continued, "to evolve, to prepare. And now we have returned, not to conquer, not to enslave, but to save." The Shadow, the massive dark force that had already destroyed countless fleets and corrupted entire systems, moved closer to the galaxy center, unaware that humans had returned. Its fragments had been searching for human presence, and now they would find more than they could ever anticipate. Captain Ryland's crew stared at the hologram, every nerve alive with tension and hope. Dr. Veron whispered, "They've prepared everything. They know the enemy. They've fought it before." The humans' calm confidence contrasted sharply with the fear that had paralyzed the galaxy for so long. Suddenly, the hologram shifted, showing a map of the approaching threat, the shadow and its fragments, and overlays of human strategies, ship positions, and attack plans. Every detail was precise, every tactic calculated, and every move designed to protect billions of lives. Across the galaxy, military leaders realized the truth. Alone, they could never stop the shadow. Only with humans could they have any chance of survival. The hologram shifted again, showing humans entering planets, repairing cities, restoring defenses, and coordinating with alien forces in a way that was flawless and instantaneous. It was as if humans had been watching, waiting, and preparing not just their technology, but the minds of every ally they could find. Captain Ryland took a deep breath. They're not just back to fight, they're back to lead. The human voice spoke one final time, clear and unwavering. The galaxy has doubted us, forgotten us, and called us myths. But myths are born from truth. We are here. The shadow approaches. Stand with us, and you may survive. Doubt us, and you will fall. At that moment, every screen across the galaxy lit with the same message. Humans were no longer stories. They were alive, powerful, and united. Ships that had been disorganized suddenly moved in perfect formation. Fleets that had been scattered began to follow precise courses. And the shadow, vast and relentless, could feel the presence of humans as they advanced, their energy signatures unlike anything it had ever encountered. For the first time, the approaching darkness hesitated, slowed by the overwhelming power and coordination of the human armada. Citizens across planets cheered, cried, or fell silent in awe. Even the smallest and weakest species realized that hope had returned. Ryland's voice trembled as she said, "They're not just legends, they're our salvation." Dr. Veron nodded, feeling history shift before his eyes. The humans had returned not to rule, not to conquer, but to protect. And as the first skirmishes between the human fleet and the shadow fragments began, the galaxy understood that the true war was only starting. Stars lit with energy blasts, shadows recoiled, and humans moved with perfect coordination and courage. Every myth, every story ever told about humans now made sense. They had always been extraordinary, always been clever, and always been capable of greatness. And now the galaxy would witness the full power of humanity. The voice of the human leader echoed one final time across every channel, a calm but firm declaration that would be remembered for generations. We were myths. We are real. We are humanity. And this galaxy will survive. For the first time in millennia, fear was replaced with hope, awe, and certainty. Humanity had returned, legends had become reality, and the galaxy, united with its greatest warriors, faced the coming darkness ready to fight as one.